So this webinar is about the work that we're going to be doing in the San Elijo Hills neighborhood. I think we had another attendee just pop in, so we're getting some good attendance at this webinar. My name is Chris Robbins. I'm the Public Information Water Conservation Supervisor for the Vallecitos Water District. If you have any questions for me, let's say afterward, you can call me at the district. My extension is 314, like the math formula for pi. It's real easy to remember. With me is Susan Bowman, who will be providing most of the talking points on our presentation tonight about the pipeline assessment we'll be doing in San Elijo Hills. Susan is our asset management supervisor, and also with us is our board member director, Tiffany Boyd Hodgson, who will say a few words to get us kicked off this evening.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Susan, and thank you to all the people that were able to join tonight. This is a really exciting project, and we've got experts, Susan and Chris, that are going to talk about it. I am here as your representative. I represent San Elijo. I'm also available to answer questions. I'm not an expert, Susan and Chris are, but I'm happy to pass on any information. I'm going to be hosting my monthly town hall tomorrow night. It's called Water Wednesday. I do it live from my Facebook page. I'll also be just reiterating the talking points that you're going to hear tonight on that town hall, and I will turn it over to the experts. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to share my screen and show the PowerPoint that Susan has prepared to take us through this. So this is the water pipeline condition assessment in San Elijo Hills, and I'm going to move it to the next slide. And Susan, it is all yours.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you also, Director Boyd Hodgson. We appreciate your support. We're here tonight to share with you the activities that are going to be occurring in the San Elijo Hills neighborhood throughout the month of May, where we will be doing water pipeline condition assessment. And a little bit of the background of the pipeline condition assessment and the reasons that we're going to be doing this. So water main breaks, as we all know, are very disruptive and they are expensive when they occur. And of course, they usually occur actually on pipelines that are at the end of their useful life. Majority of pipelines, depending upon the material, should have a useful life of around 75 to 100 years. But the water pipelines in San Elijo Hills are experiencing main breaks on relatively new pipes. So it's premature failures that we've been seeing on the ductile iron pipe that was installed in the mid-2000s in that area. There's other areas of San Marcos as well, but we're focused initially on the San Elijo Hills area due to the number of breaks that have occurred over these last 5-6 years. And one of the most important things to point out, particularly because this pipe is not old and is failing prematurely, is most of these breaks are caused by human error. And what we mean by human error is that it may have had something to do with the installation, other factors when the pipe was laid, et cetera. And that's contributing to these premature failure. So again, most of the pipes in this area are made of a material called ductile iron. Ductile iron pipe is well known in the industry as a very rigorous material. It holds up very well. And it also does expect to have 75 to 100 year lifespan. But one of the ways that we protect that ductile iron, which is a metal and therefore is subject to corrosion, is when the pipeline's installed, and this is industry standard in the water industry, how ductile iron pipe is installed. It's installed and then it's wrapped with a polyethylene bag, basically wrapped around the pipe, the full circumference of the pipe. It's wrapped and sealed upon installation so that no water is allowed to contact the pipe. And that, of course, would prevent the corrosion that would eventually lead to its failure. Now, what can happen is that weak spots can develop where there may have been some damage to that polyethylene wrap. So just like any plastic bag, if it gets a hole in it, water is going to get into the contents of that bag. And that's what has been our observation on the pipeline failures that we have had in this area. So dry utility installation, dry utilities means contractors that have installed electrical or cabling for fiber or telephone or any other types of installations that occur above our pipelines. They may have damaged, even just slightly damaged, that polyethylene wrap, and then that eventually will lead to the corrosion that will eventually lead to leaks and then a main break. Now, it does take time for this to happen. It can be years before these pipelines, even if the polyethylene wrap has been compromised, it can still take years for that corrosion to produce any kind of leak out of the pipe or any main breaks. However, it's really critical then for us to understand what the condition of the pipes are and whether they have, the integrity of that wrap and the integrity of the pipe is still there. And we are going to be looking at that in the San Elijo Hills area. That's what this project is about for these next 4 weeks of May, is to identify these weak spots. And once we've identified that, on another slide, I'm going to go through kind of some of the steps that we take with this information. But ultimately, of course, our goal is to proactively repair and rehab any of these pipes where we've identified these weaknesses, so that we can reduce the main breaks, which are costly, disruptive, and things that we want to work to avoid. So next slide, Chris. Thank you. Here are some examples. It's interesting. You can see here, this is from another area, not from the San Elijo Hills, but these are pipes which show corrosion on the metal surface of the pipe through both the polyethylene wrap, and then there's also a coating that's placed on the metal as well. So in the upper left, for example, you can see the corrosion that's occurred there. On the right, you can see that. And you can see where that polyethylene wrap, that's the black with the wording on it, has been compromised, and therefore the corrosion occurred. Okay. Next slide. Okay, so for the next 4 weeks, we're going to be doing some non-invasive assessments of the condition of the pipes. There's 3 different techniques that we're going to be using. This is, again, it's going to be 4 weeks in total duration. The majority, virtually 95, if not 99% of the work is intended to occur between 8 and 4 p.m., 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. And in fact, that's when we want to do the work, because we need to be one of our technologies we'll be using is to listen for the flow of the water. So it's important that we're looking at the pipes when we actually have good flow through the pipes. Again, as I mentioned, there's actually absolutely no contact with the water. This is strictly external inspection technologies. So we won't have to do any testing or anything like that. Your water is not going to be making contact in any way with the technologies. We do anticipate that there will be limited shutdowns, disruption of service of only 30 to 60 minutes. And also, it won't be every household. So as we go through and try to listen for the leaks, et cetera, there may be occasions where a shutdown may be needed to eliminate other factors when they're looking at when they're hearing a leak in their sounding equipment. Notification of any of those shutdowns. When we identify that a shutdown needs to occur, you will be provided with 24 to 48 hours notice in advance. You will be given a door hanger. We will make a phone call through our automated phone call system, and you will receive an email if available, if we have an email address on record for you. So I want to take this opportunity actually to Just remind you that it's always a good idea to call or log in and check in with customer service and confirm your contact information. We appreciate having that for many different reasons. It always allows us to get in touch with you if something's going on in your neighborhood that we need to inform you about. So please take a few minutes prior to this work beginning to confirm your information. But again, I do want to reiterate that we will have limited shutdowns only where necessary. Next slide. Okay, so the work description that will be occurring, again, it's scheduled beginning this coming Monday, May 3rd through the 28th. It may go a little longer, but again, you would be informed about that, and we would keep our website updated with any information, and we'll communicate through the Homeowners Association as well. So the technologies is soil corrosivity. As I talked about, corrosion is what drives the weaknesses in the pipes, and the soil can become corrosive. It can be a corrosive material itself against the pipe. And so we're going to be measuring the level of corrosivity of our pipes. I'm sorry, of our soils surrounding our pipes. And then we're going to be doing an external leak detection, which will be looking at and identifying those areas with high likelihood of failure. And we're basing that leak detection in San Elijo Hills, as I said, based on the past performance or poor past performance of the pipes in that area. Next year, with this information that we gather, we will follow up with some internal tool for inspecting inside the pipes. On the right there is a picture of a tool that goes in through a fire hydrant and measures the thickness of the pipe that's remaining, and gives us a very good idea of pipelines that need to be rehabbed or repaired. And with that information that we collect, we will be planning for that repair and rehabilitation in our future budgets. We do have a lot of, as I mentioned in the beginning here, 29 miles just in the San Elijo Hills area that's ductile iron. And so we will be incorporating the costs of the repairs and rehab as we budget. Okay, Chris? Okay, the soil resistivity, which is another, it's corrosion analysis. Exactly what will happen is that the consultant that we've hired, V&A Consulting Engineers, will place metal pins 6 inches into the soil, equidistant spacing, and they will measure the resistance of the soil. And that will give us the idea of how corrosive it is. VWD, your district staff, will be on site during all activities. So you may see trucks that are marked with V&A, and you will see truck for VWD. There's not a lot of staff. There's only a couple of folks that need to be involved, and this does not involve any traffic control or anything like that. The pins on this map here are the 30, approximately the 30 locations that we're going to be taking these measurements. And this, because we're just measuring the soil, you know, there's no impact at all to the water. We don't need shut off or disruptions in any way for this. This is scheduled for approximately 4 days beginning next week, the 3rd through the 6th. Next. Okay, the next activity is potholing. And this will involve a company called T2 Utility Engineers in conjunction with V&A and the district. And they're going to pothole approximately 8 locations to gather soil samples so that we'll be able to take those to a lab and have them further analyzed with a lot more chemical analysis to give us a lot more detailed information about the makeup of the soil that is in these areas. That's critical for us to understand. One thing that I wanted to mention with the failures that we're seeing, the way that the pipe was laid, in addition to the polyethylene wrap possibly being damaged from dry utilities, we have noted that the base materials under the pipe that were installed in conjunction with the city of San Marcos is very alkaline, and that leads to the soil then becoming very alkaline, which of course leads to additional corrosivity against the pipelines if there's any ability for that soil to get in through the polyethylene bag. So the alkalinity and other chemical makeup of the soil is critical for us to understand, because we are aware that the base materials that were put in place around the pipeline at installation of pipeline is contributing to these failures that we're seeing. At least that's our suspicion. And again, that's why we're doing these condition assessments to validate some of our suspicions about what may be happening, so that we can make remedial actions. So this work, soil collection work, potholing activities, will not require any shutoffs or disruptions. At approximately 4 of the 8 locations, there will be some minor traffic control that we'll be working with the city on, but it's not a large effort with a lot of staff, and there may be 1 or 2 trucks, a couple of their trucks out there. But it's only 2 days. So it's only a 2-day activity, May 10th and 11th the following week. At this point, tentatively scheduled for May 10th through 11th. And next. And the last activity, which is kind of neat, technology, is that an engineering company called McKim and Creed are going to be doing sounding activity with listening sticks and noise loggers, looking for indication of leaks. So needless to say, if they hear any leaks, and again, they're looking at leaks on the distribution side, meaning the pipelines that are carrying the water through the streets to the houses, to the meters, I should say. That's what the distribution system is. And so that contractor will be listening for those leaks. It's at this point where we may need to make some shutoffs. Because as I mentioned, if the customer side is impacting the contractor's ability to differentiate between a leak on the Vallecitos' pipeline or at the customer's side, they need to turn off the water to differentiate that. And if it is identified that the leak is coming from the customer's side, you will be notified. We will get a report from this company that they suspect a leak on a customer side, and we will notify you of that so that you can take appropriate action with a plumber, et cetera. Okay, and this expected duration is 2 weeks and scheduled for the 17th through the 28th. And as I mentioned, if we have to do shutoffs, we will let you know 2 to 3 days in advance. There may be, we may go into the beginning of May, June, or the following week after Memorial Day, based on the shutoffs that need to occur and giving us adequate time to notify you. But again, this is the tentative schedule. We do not do any of this work on the weekends, and we will not be doing any of this work on Memorial Day. So there will not be any concern about an impact over those types of Saturday, Sundays, and the holiday. Okay. And let's see. Lastly, I just would like to open it up to questions for you, but do note that you can always call the district at that number. You're welcome to call me directly. My extension is 238. I'd be happy to provide you with any additional information. And again, my name is Susan Bowman, and I'd just like to open it up if there's any questions.
I have a question, Susan.
Mm-hmm.
So as we discussed earlier, I live in the Stone Canyon neighborhood, and actually you can see the neighborhood and part of those areas on your slide presentation. And we've had a couple of breaks. It's a very small community, it's 180 homes, but we've had 2 breaks. One of them caused a lot of damage, and this community has private roads, so it's up to the HOA to mend the roads. And one of the breaks was on Via Veracruz, and we had a lot of water rushing down the hill. So it was probably a year and a half ago, and we're still working to try to get the roads repaired. So I would love to be part of the study so that we could try to avoid the damage that would happen to these streets. So I don't know if there's some way we get put on the radar somewhere in the future, or even with this study or something of that nature. So
Yes, absolutely. So this is actually just the initial a pilot effort to look at the technology we're using and see if it gives us enough information to have some informed decisions. But with the VNA contract consultant, we have already prioritized the areas based on their break history throughout the district. So what you do as a way to prioritize is we look at the likelihood of failure, which in many cases is based upon the history of failures. And so we're using that information, and we have identified 25 areas throughout the district and ranked them from, the worst performing or most at-risk areas on through. And so, I'd be more than happy to get back with you about where you're ranked. And we may not necessarily, go exactly, old or top rank to bottom. It's based upon different factors, but we have ranked the areas. So, and
yeah, I'd just be curious if we're on that list more than anything, just
yes.
to see if, we're an area of concern more than anything, so that it's nice to know that it's known and that it's being looked at, right? So
Sure, absolutely. So you definitely are, because we did assess we did the risk assessment for the entire district and ranked it. So certainly you're on our radar for that. And I'd be more than happy if you want to give me a call later tomorrow, whenever, and give me your contact information, and I'll let you know where your area ranked, and that'll give you some idea. This is a multi-year project. It's our pipeline condition assessment program, and it is a multi-year effort. This is just the beginning, and as I mentioned, there's other techniques we're going to use to do the assessment, and then we'll be looking at the repair and rehab, unless, of course, we identify something through any of these assessments that's an urgent need. Then we would send in our crews or bring in a contractor to take care of that situation immediately, certainly. But yeah, give me a call and I'll let you know where your area sits and in the prioritization.
cool. And did you have the number? I didn't write it down. I got your extension 238, but what's the number? Do you have that?
That's
It's
the last.
760-744-0460. And I think Susan said 238. Is that right, Susan?
Yes.
That's what
Her
I have.
extension's 238, mine's 314.
Got it. Thank you so much. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
Certainly.
Yes.
Was there anybody else want to raise their hand and I can unmute you so you can ask a question?
Chris, I'm going to just take this opportunity right here to let folks know that we will be having another session, at least maybe 2 more, right, Chris?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
As we get closer to the dates where the events are happening. Jeff, can you raise your hand again? Because I want to make sure I'm seeing this properly. Okay, yeah, I can see your hand up. You can go ahead and put it back down. Anybody else want to raise their hand and ask a question? Does anybody, it's people may need help. Does everybody know how to raise their hand? I'm not sure everybody does. Let me see if I can allow some other individuals to talk if they want to. I've kind of opened it up at this point. If you unmute yourself, you should be able to speak. Is that Neil?
Yeah, I just unmuted myself.
It worked. Did you have any questions?
No, I'm just thank you for letting us know. I was always curious. I've lived here in San Elijo Hills since 2004, and I was always curious. I had seen several water main breaks early on, even where you come up and part of the road is closed, or you wake up in the morning, we have no water, or you see that the trucks are nearby and the road's closed. So I was always curious in a relatively new neighborhood why this was happening. So it'd be interesting to see what's going on. So yeah, I'm glad that this is happening.
Glad you attended the event.
Yes.
Anybody else want to unmute themselves and ask a question? Okay, well, I certainly appreciate everybody taking time out of their day. I know many of you may be working from home and doing this exact type of activity where you're using Zoom to work with your coworkers, and to come on a Zoom meeting after being on a day of Zoom meetings can be a little tedious. And I appreciate you taking the time to spend time with us and learn about what we're doing in the area. Feel free to talk to your friends and neighbors about the effort that we'll be doing. Hopefully most of it's pretty unintrusive. And Director Boyd Hodgson, would you like to provide any closing statements?
Sure, thank you. And thank you again for doing this. I just want to, sorry, those are dinner sounds going on in the background. I just like to amplify what Chris and Susan have said, and reiterate that they're available. Vallecitos is available. They're being very proactive in coming to the community and saying, you may experience some water disruptions, and that's fantastic. That really sort of helps people understand what's going on. So thank you for your efforts. Thank you for putting this together, and thank you for doing it another couple of times to try to keep everybody informed. It's really great. Thank you.
Okay, with that, I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar. I appreciate everybody taking time out of their day and spending time with us, and we'll see you out in the San Marcos, San Elijo Hills.